Hey, business building warrior, it's your buddy Jim. Today we're going to interview. It's another person from the church I attend who lives near me, who I didn't know before. It's a fairly large church. I don't know everyone who attends there. Plus, with this whole COVID thing, it's been a little strange, the Sunday morning routine. But we've attended the same church for a while now. Know a lot of the same people, have a lot of the same friends, but I don't know him that well. I'm going to get to know him today on this episode of the podcast, along with you, because we've never really spoken at length before, but he's built a great Amazon business. Word has kind of spread in this area as I've told friends and friends have told friends about the Amazon business models that we teach around here, which are fairly unique. There's not a lot of people out there taking the approach we take. And Roger's going to go into it today with us. He's hoping to have a really big fourth quarter. And his business is at the point now where he hopes to put around $5,000 or $6,000 in the bank this month. That's after all expenses. Hopefully about twice that next month. And his business is looking to double each month is his goal right now, because he's on such a great streak of finding new products that are easily sourced. We're going to talk about that on today's episode. He's also got a really great book he wrote about mindset, and we spend some time on that too. So bear with me a little bit as I get to know a guy that I've been trying to spend some time with because we live right here in the same area. We've only crossed paths for a few minutes a couple times, but we'll swap a couple stories. Then we'll get into some great Amazon actionable content and convince you that with very little money, you can start growing a very significant business with slow and steady effort and have something very special within a few months. So what Roger did, that's what hundreds of people have done recently in our community as we've taught our strategies. He's another proven Amazon course student, and he's going to talk a little bit about that today. So let's jump over and join Roger Morton in the interview. You're going to love getting to know this guy. I'll talk to you on the other side. So Roger, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Jim, thank you so much for having me. I've really been looking forward to this. I am beyond humbled to even get the invitation. I was never in a million years I expected it, but thank you.
Well, you've got an incredible story, which we'll get into. But I think it's pretty cool that for the listeners' sake, maybe we fill them in that like we're neighbors. You actually go to the same church. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but Pastor Wayne was one of my groomsmen when I got married, stood up with him. I've known him a long time. We go way back. And there's a lot of people who have popped up out of our church who are turning into Amazon success stories.
Yes, there are. Yeah, there are quite a few.
Good number of them. Words kind of spread around, and it's pretty cool. You know, Morgan, he was on this podcast. I'll have to put the number of that episode. Morgan Boer.
Yeah.
Check in with him and see how his business is doing. But the last time I talked to him, it was just exploding. He'd hired his mom and his daughter, or his wife, excuse me, and another kid from the church there. But this is a business model a lot of people have jumped into, but I want to hear your story because I don't know a whole lot about it. All I know is we've crossed paths. I said, it was like a Walmart parking lot or something, right?
So the very first time you and I were introduced, it was actually my mother-in-law.
Okay.
You were speaking at the a business meeting for the college that's running out of our church, and the name's escaping me right now. But you were speaking there. And my mother-in-law's attending. At the end of it, she came and grabbed me and she was like, you need to meet the guy that was speaking. I think you guys have a lot in common. So that was the first time that you and I ever met, had a brief conversation. You gave me your business card. And then that was it was actually a year ago this month. It was in October.
Really? Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was in October. But indeed, so then just, a couple months later, we kind of got started. I guess that, I kind of followed things that were happening with my silent team. And of course I had looked into the podcast and the book, and I was very, very intrigued. I've had an entrepreneurial spirit most of my life. We blame that on my grandfather. I had my first job when I was 12. He owned a construction company and brought me in, paid me $400 a week as a 12-year-old in, way back then. So
that's a good gig.
It was fantastic. And I worked with my grandpa all day long. It's just,
that's great. He sounds like an awesome guy. Sounds like my grandpa.
Right. Yeah.
Hard worker and Yeah. Instilled
Absolutely.
some incredible values, man. I miss him. All my grandparents, I just lost my last grandparent. My dad, my mom's dad just passed here recently. He had a couple World War II veterans, both my grandpas, but yeah, it makes me miss them, man, talking about them. They instill some powerful stuff in us. I hope I'm as good of a grandpa as I had when mine.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Absolutely. Um, but so yeah, we decided we were going to just kind of take the leap. And then I opened a seller account with zero clue. I had no idea at that point, I had no idea what I was doing other than I had heard you and Patrick Boer. I
Yeah.
really like Patrick. He and I get along great.
He's an awesome guy. Yeah, we've known them a long time too, and that's Morgan's dad. For those who don't know, and I'll stick Morgan's podcast episode in here because it's a great story. Just a young kid that he came up to me at church. Not to sidetrack too much, he came up to me at church one Sunday and said, "Hey, you know about that Amazon stuff, right?" And I'm like, "Hey, drop me an email. I'll send you the Proven Amazon course." And I sent it to him, and I didn't hear from him for we didn't talk for a year. And one Sunday, I'm like, "Hey, I heard you're doing okay on Amazon." And he told me his numbers. I don't remember what they were exactly. It just blew my mind. He had
Right,
just taken
right,
off and
right.
built an incredible business. And he's just out there hustling. That's what he does now. But yeah, so his dad
Yeah,
actually works with him too a little bit on the biz.
right, right. But the statement that I had heard multiple times was just get started. Just uh,
Yeah,
find something, list it, sell it. You'll gain so much experience from that.
right.
That's literally what we did. I had $36 in my pocket. Went and bought our first inventory purchase, and I'll share with you it was cookies. So $36 worth of cookies, and we put them on Amazon, and they sold within a matter of a couple of days. And I looked at my wife, and I was like, "That's insane." So we're gonna have to do this. There's something really to this. At that point, I'm kind of um, jumped into pack. The Replens course was still separate, and then so we purchased Replens because that business model really spoke to me. And like, that's so scalable, and that's something you can get that to a point and have other people run it, and kind of walk away, have your freedom, walk away from it a little bit. I guess it
That's
was.
right.
Um, so we just jumped in, and here we are. I guess not to shorten everything, but that's how it got started. That's how it got
I,
started.
I love the background, man. So share a little bit more, fill in a few more gaps, like numbers wise, and what's your job situation.
Okay.
What are your plans, and let's explore the Q4 a little bit too. That's upon us as we're recording this.
So we'll start with the job. I actually lost my job. My position was eliminated right at the onset of COVID, so it wasn't necessarily COVID related, but the position was eliminated. Then of course COVID hit. There's nobody really hiring, and with my particular background, it was we were struggling to even actually get interviews, which was really odd, I guess. But my wife and I, we kind of looked at it as, and not to turn the podcast into, about all about God, but that's where my life is. So, and my wife and I looked at it like this. This is just God saying, this is what you need to be doing. Focus here, and stop trying to go where I'm not leading you. Um, so
It's
that's
amazing how many times in our life that happens. And I've been around long enough now that I know exactly what you're talking about, where it's like, man, this is really bad, God. I can't believe you've put me in this situation. And then 6 months later, you look back and you're like, oh, thank you, God, for putting me in that situation. It's led me
it,
to something just so incredible.
exactly. And
Romans 8:28, man, he's working all things together for our good. Maybe not on our timeline, but he's working
right.
all things together for our good.
I've been unemployed since then. I've not found employment, and I stopped looking. I stopped trying to get employment, and we just started hustling. I've donated plasma. I have delivered for Amazon, so I've delivered packages around. Also, I've done Instacart. I do ATM repairs on the side. That's kind of my background's really in software, things like that. So ATM work is sporadic, but I do that. And it just became a case of whatever it takes, which has been my attitude for a lot of years. So we just do whatever we had to do to get to where we need to be.
Good for you, man.
And that's, so that's how we've covered our bills and put food on the table. My wife works. She actually it's a quick sidebar, I guess, for her. She was out looking at different places to live here in the area. We were thinking about moving, and she walked into a community. The manager there said, "Hey, I don't know why, but I feel like I should tell you that we're hiring." And they literally hired her as she's a property manager now for Clary, that's right down the road here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, that's so cool. She likes her gig?
Yeah, she loves it.
That's great, man.
Works a lot with seniors, which is something that's kind of near and dear to our heart. We do a lot of volunteering with Johnson County Senior Services, things like that. So
yeah, my Andrea does as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She's with the hospice program. And
okay.
You just recently lost a guy she'd had some time to get pretty close to, actually, through the hospice. So yeah, we've always taken our kids. You and I were kicking around some homeschool ideas before we hit the record button today. I think that's one of the most powerful things you can do as a parent is get your kids into retirement homes. Just get them in there. They'll welcome you with open arms. Just get the kids in there, get them comfortable around people who maybe look a little different and you can't necessarily move, as healthily as they used to, but they've got such incredible stories and help take care of them a little bit. That's just such a great environment. People who have a heart for that environment are very special people. And it just is a little parenting tip, man. Get your kids in there. They're volunteering and playing some, play checkers or something, learn checkers if they don't know how from one of these guys. And it's so cool that your wife's in that environment. So God bless her for that.
Yeah. And we get our daughter volunteers with the pantry quite a bit, at least out of church.
Right. We had Josh Rojas on here a few episodes ago.
Oh yeah.
And he worked at the food pantry there as well. So small world, man. But we're neighbors, so there's going to be a lot of connections here. You and I could do some catching up.
Absolutely.
Church has been so weird lately. It's like you don't get caught up on Sundays, man.
Right? No, not at all. Not at all. So kind of not necessarily fast forwarding, but to get into a little bit of the numbers of where we're at.
Yeah.
It was growing kind of slow. We didn't do anything at all in the month of January. We have 100% lived from Amazon payout to Amazon payout as far as the business. From that first $36, every penny that's gone into Amazon has been money that we've made from Amazon. So we go from where you feel rich one week and then you're broke the next week because you spend everything and all your inventory is sold out. So you're waiting for the next. At least that was our experience for it. Then we it was growing pretty slow. COVID kind of kicked in. We have a couple really good months in April and May were decent, and then June kind of dropped off, and then we seen it was scaling like our graph now goes like this. So June we did right at 3,000 in June, about 4,000 in July, just over 5 in August. We hit 7 in September, and now here we are in October. Today's the 15th, and we're just shy of 10 grand in October at this point in the month.
That's
so
awesome.
we're on track to actually do 20,000 this month.
Beautiful. And what's your ROI?
We are running right at 31% for our net ROI.
We're at gotcha. After all expenses, 30%. So you're hoping to put 5,000-6,000 minimum in the bank this month.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Right. Well done, man. That's and tell me, how much time is that taking per week for you to pull? Like in October, how much time do you anticipate spending on your business?
So for me, it's kind of hard, I guess, to calculate because I feel like I'm always in the business at the moment. Yeah. I can't. My wife laughs. She hates to take me shopping now because everywhere I go, I'm like, oh, I wonder how is this selling? I'm always looking.
Every aisle has opportunity.
Absolutely. The comment you made many times about walking around and everything's $100 bills. There's so much truth to that. It just looks like money everywhere now. But I would say for October, I'm probably spending 50 hours a week on the business. That's of course, sourcing, making the trips to do RA. I'm doing OA at home. I do not go to bed until I've found a new product every day. Or at least one to test.
That's great.
That's been a
Yeah,
guide for a
I've been
while.
doing that a lot lately myself. I'll kind of even say I'm not going to bed till I find one more, to
Right,
test. And
right.
you get around and you sign up for some new website that you never been on before and get their 30% off discount. And hey, there's a new replan. We're going to try it out. I think it's a total blast. It's
Absolutely.
it's so much fun. And yeah, you've definitely you've got a lot of money in inventory right now. You're spending 40, 50 hours a week. You're going to have a $50,000 a month easily business before long, very, very consistently. That's the track you're on. And then 100,000 soon on the heels of that. That's just the track you're on, man. Have you found any wholesale deals yet, or made any exciting discoveries? Like, hey, this is my product now. You kind of locked it in, or is it mainly replens and kind of sharing that buy box with other sellers still?
So the majority of what we're doing is replens. We are. I am on the path of some wholesale products that I've actually been led back to from a previous life. At one point in time, I owned a survival gear company. So
Ah,
we sold knives and camping equipment and
sure.
all that kind of stuff. And at that point, we had different gear or different relationships with different individuals throughout that like sporting goods industry. I'm kind of tracking back toward the sporting goods, and because I've got some existing connections there, I guess, for lack of a
Yeah.
better way of putting it. So we'll really start. I don't anticipate that happening really until after the first of the year. We're going to focus here on Q4 on the things, the products that were selling through FBA. Most of those I have fulfilled by merchant listings to coincide with our FBA listings, and the fulfilled by merchant is those are kind of flying off the shelves. So I'm kind of laser focusing on those things that's turning our capital really quickly,
Right.
so we can grow those payouts so we can grow the inventory. And we do every time. I'll pick at least 3 products and we'll test through every payout. So we're right now we're running we've got about 100 active SKUs. Um, I've got at least 200 they're over here. I'm like, I got to test these, so I still have to get through them. But
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to find the hot replan that you want to test than it is to actually get out there and locate it somewhere.
right,
That's one of the challenges. So you'll end up with a pretty nice list of stuff like, yeah, if I ever come across one of these, I'm going to source it. And then the other ones are like, wow, they're in stock all the time at the retailer right by my house, so you just never
right,
know what you're going to run into. But that's a good, solid 100 replens is a good, solid business. And at the point that you get up to, what is it? Jimmy has like a rule of thumb. I think it's 1,000 replens is kind of a target goal to where that's when it's bigger than what you can just kind of manage yourself. It's you're going to need some help and
right,
bring in
right,
some shoppers and have other people instead of you doing the hustle like you mentioned earlier. You kind of own a business that runs itself. You can have someone doing the shopping, someone doing the packing, and the process of finding replens. It's just not complicated once you understand the process. But I love that you started off. There's a part of your story that I want to emphasize right now. It's very much in contrast to the way most people start their Amazon businesses. And it's that you started with less than $40 and you said, I'm going to turn this 40 into more money, or I'm not going to do anything else with this. Let's just test it out. And that's how you started. And you've grown that way. You haven't gone out at any point and spent $10,000 on some inventory that you hope sells someday because you're going to
no,
market it and private label it and all. You haven't done that. You haven't had to. It's a slow and
right.
steady path. So I just wanted to make sure the listeners realize that there's definitely a different way that this business can be done. Slow growth, steady, building something that lasts. What thoughts come to mind as I say those things? And I'd love to hear what your plans are for Q4 too.
So I have personally, mentally, and emotionally, I've struggled with the slow growth because I've wanted it to just explode, and suddenly we're doing $100,000 a month, and like everyone else, I see the stories and I see the people that immediately they just got started yesterday and they're already doing 30,000 a month, and that's how it feels or seems. But yeah, that hasn't been our path, and it's been interesting for me to keep myself slowed down and keep myself focused on our business, and which I think is and you kind of alluded to it also. That is something I would definitely stress to new people that are coming in. Your business is not anyone else's business. Run your business as your business. Let it grow the way it's going to grow organically. Because like we're, right now, we've got a very solid foundation, of 100 different active SKUs and more SKUs to go test, and it's all just grown organically. And I feel very comfortable about that. And where we're at now, I can see that we're on track to almost double every month. So we'll get to those big numbers. At this point, it'll probably feel relatively quick, I guess.
Oh, it will. It will. I love the quote that comes to mind. I can't remember what book it was. Maybe it'll come to me as I'm telling the example, but how much we tend to it's human nature. We tend to overestimate what we can get done in the short term. Like at any given day, we'll make ourselves a to-do list and we'll put 30 things on there. Like at the end of the day, we did 6 of them. And we're wondering, why couldn't I get all of them done? So we overestimate what we can do in a day. We underestimate what we can do over, say, a 6-month or year period with slow and steady progress. Our brains don't think that way. We want to think, what can I get done today? We're always in that mode. Versus if I take 3 steps in the right direction every day for the next 6 months, I'm going to have a $50,000 or $80,000 a month business. That's awesome, right? That's the mindset you need to have, not, swing for the fences and hope to hit that first big private label home run with all the tools and the courses and the marketing and the risks. And, it frustrates me a lot of times. I'll see that's the way the vast majority of experts out there are teaching Amazon. It's, you buy all these expensive courses and tools, do all your research, find your product, order 1,000 units or 5,000 or 10,000 units from China. And then, in the next chapter, we're going to teach you how to market that product. And you're already 6 months in and $15,000 in, and you haven't even started to make a penny yet. That just doesn't make sense to me to pursue those models. I love the models that we teach around here. And then we'll get into private label and wholesale later once your business is stabilized. Those opportunities will fall in your lap. Those relationships, like you mentioned, Roger, those relationships are going to fall right in your lap over time.
Absolutely.
You have I didn't hear about your Q4. I want to hear your Q4 goals before we move forward. Because here we are, you mentioned we're in the middle of October as we're recording this, 2020, the busiest shopping month in world history for e-commerce. November is coming at us fast. I'm predicting it right now. It's going to just destroy all the old records. With the election and the social unrest, the whole COVID thing, people are going to stay home and shop online, buddy. And we're there to take advantage of that. So what's your expectations?
So with where we're at right now, as I mentioned, we're right at 10,000 midway point through October. I definitely expect this. We'll finish between 15 and 20,000 this month. I honestly think we'll double in November. I think with some of the products that we have, I can't. I mean, it's that type of you go out, you source it. And I'm that person. I get in the car and I'm immediately getting on the seller app and updating my inventory, and it's selling before you get to the next store. And of course, I'm attributing a lot of that probably to what's happening in Q4 with everybody starting to really start to spend now. But because of that, I think that will contribute to us. I expect us to do probably 40,000 in November. I honestly feel like that's realistic given where
in
we're
the
at.
First couple of weeks of December, you could do close to that as well. I'm thinking whatever you do in November, if it's selling like crazy, expect to do that the first couple of weeks of December. Because it gets even crazier. People get even more desperate. Like, I haven't done my shopping yet.
Right.
First 2 weeks up until about the 8th, 19th or 20th of December. It's going to be nuts this year. I'm really excited for our community because of the trends that we're seeing. That's great,
Right.
man. I can't wait to hear how it goes for you. But I want to hear some tips. What categories are you excited about? You, without giving away any of your product, give us some
Sure.
good shoves in the right direction if you could, and encourage the listeners today if they want to pursue this model. What's involved?
So for me, of course, we do have a lot that is tied into grocery, but we're really starting to get more into to housewares, get more into sporting goods, and a lot of that being, we're coming into Christmas, but then right after Christmas, at least in Indiana, we all start going, it's basketball now because March Madness is coming, so sports are really going to become a little more popular, I guess. But so yeah, so houseware, sporting goods, the grocery items. Even last year, we did well in grocery there toward the end of the year. So those are definitely categories we'll continue focusing on.
Fantastic. Yeah, and just as a little tip, as you're saying that, some people might think, well, every time I go to look at anything grocery, there's already 40 people selling it, and you can't make any profit on it. You got to look for here's a big tip. You got to look for those multi-packs, those bundles. The listings have already been set up by other sellers. They've already established some momentum. There's, a handful of people selling it. Share the buy box. If you can sell 5 or 10 a month of that item and make $3 to $10 each time it sells, something like that, you can build a real business very, very quickly, sourcing products at full price off retail shelves or shopping online. It's an incredible model. I think retail and online arbitrage have gotten a bit of a bad rap because that people associate it with scanning barcodes in the clearance aisle.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking about buying full price retail product off the shelf as you need it, and it flips within 30 to 60 days at between 40 to 300% ROI.
Right.
You find 100, like Roger has 100 of those items, or pretty soon you got 500, pretty soon you got 1,000. Other people are doing the shopping. You've got a pretty special business model. And I love that you're venturing outside of grocery, although I think my theory is you could stay just in grocery replens and build a phenomenal business, but you'll find less competition. There's some low hanging fruit in these other niche markets, that, especially if you've got some connections. Like you
Right.
decided to hear how your sports connections turn out for you. You need to jump into that and build some wholesale relationships, man. You're gonna just skyrocket your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I've never focused on the number of sellers that are on a listing. I look at how many times is Keepa showing it drops each month.
Yeah. How many sales is it making? I don't care if there's 50 sellers. If it's selling 300 times a month, that means we're each going to get 6 sales, right?
Right. So I have a tendency to overthink everything, and it's one of my wife's favorite characteristics about me, I'm sure. But so what I really for myself I'm focusing on doing is I'm not overthinking it at all. I listen to the podcast, and I listen to the Replens course, and when I hear Jimmy say, "Hey, if it drops 10 times a month and it's profitable, we're going to test it." That up to this point, that is what I've done. If it shows 10 or more drops a month, and I can source it profitably, I test it because
Let's explain what drops are real quick. You want to take a stab at it? Go ahead, because someone's out there listening going, drops? What are you talking about, drops?
So this is me taking a stab at it. I guess my understanding when I say drops, I'm looking at the sales rank of the item. How many times is it changing? So it correlates very closely to how many times a month that product is selling. So that's what I've been going on.
Well done. Yeah, the Keepa app, which is a favorite in our community, it costs a few dollars. We don't have an affiliate relationship with them, but that's the only app. Sometimes when people come into our community and they say, which of the 5 most popular software products that cost me $100 a month, and which of these $5,000 courses should I go buy? We say, no, proven Amazon course, it costs you a few dollars. We should be charging so much more than we do. And the Keepa app, which will cost you a few dollars, and you're rocking. That's all you need. And that Keepa app, like you said, Roger, it shows you a graph of sales rank. And of course, the lower the rank, the more it's selling. So every time you see a drop, it looks like a heart monitor. And every time you see a drop, that means some product sold. The rank went from 50,000 to 30,000. That means at least one unit sold of that product that day. So if you count the drops in a month, you know about how many units sold. Because as much as these big fancy software programs would like to claim that they know how many units of different products are selling, no one has a clue. Amazon does not release that information, but they do tell us the rank. And we do know that a rank drop means at least one unit sold. So you count the drops, you know about how many sold. And I think that gave a lot of people a good aha moment just now. It's not complicated, especially when you realize no one except Amazon knows how many units per month are selling of any given item, unless there's one seller and it's their product. Then you can get an accurate number of how many units sold. If you got a bunch of sellers selling a popular product, no one knows how many units actually sold except Amazon. These tools can guess. But if you count the drops, like we said, that's how you can tell. So if you got a product that's dropping 100 times a month, the chart's dropping 100 times a month, that means at least 100 units sold. And if there's 10 of you selling that product, well, you can expect about 10 sales each, assuming the prices are all about the same because the buy box rotates.
Right.
So that's the kind of stuff we cover in the Replens course. We don't need to go into all of it right now, but it's not rocket science, is it? The first time you see the Keepa chart, what did you think to yourself?
The very first time I seen it, I was like, I'm never going to understand this.
Yeah, there's too many lines.
I was like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, exactly. But once you realize there's 3 or 4 important lines going on, you turn off everything you don't need. Some pretty powerful information, and you can get pretty good. I say it takes a couple hours to get 85, 90% proficient with Keepa. And that last 10% take you 6-8 months, just as you kind of have those aha moments. But you can be dangerous in a couple hours to where you can go out and make some money.
I think it's something I've said to a few people that have contacted me just asking tips or advice. And I always say, from what I've learned to this point of this business, it's going to be as hard as you make it. It doesn't have to be hard. If you choose to make it hard, it absolutely will be. But if you choose to listen to the advice that's being given, listen to what's being said in the course, and you guys, you've broken it down so well. It just it's one of the few times where I actually just do what I'm told. And that's rare for me. But
that's great.
But it's been incredibly beneficial. Even my wife jokes about it. It's like that. I don't normally see you just doing what you're told to do, but
yeah, wouldn't it be better if we just did it this way? Yeah, and in our free Facebook group, which there's a link at silentgym.com, get in our free Facebook group. We see people come in constantly. It's, I've been doing this 20 years. We've been doing the Replen thing for several years now, teaching it, and constantly coming in with these incorrect preconceived notions about what it means to sell successfully on Amazon. And you can just tell by the questions they're asking. And I can just envision in my mind their garage full of product that they can't sell after having spent thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on their education and software and coaching and I just shake my head because, like you said, if you just follow the steps, now you got to be willing to work at it. You got to be willing, you said right up front, Roger, 40, 50 hours a week is what you're going to put in this month to earn 6,000. Well, you're also going to be buying a whole lot of inventory that's going to sell in November and December. So you're making a whole lot more than 6,000 a month. People are doing math at home. But this is no joke. You've got to be ready to put in the work. But if you put in the work, this is a very stable business model. You don't have to worry about a single competitor coming in and wiping you out because they can make the same product cheaper than you can. You don't have to worry about it. If you lose a few Replens a month, okay, we'll add 15, 20 more next month. Right. It's such a stable model. It's a rare new seller that can convince me that they shouldn't start with Replens. You have to have some incredible, unique advantage to talk me out of convincing you that you have to start with Replens as your business model. So yeah, thanks for breaking it down from your experience. I love that, you're not another story like, hey, yeah, a month in, we're making $100,000 a month. We've had some of those people come through and they blow my mind too. Trust me, because I'm like, how did you do that? 20 years, I'm playing catch up. I've been doing this 20 years, and you're out there out hustling us. But yeah, just a very real story. And I love that you guys have found stability through this. What else might you tell some of the listeners who are here with us today? Any other tips or strategies? Anything else come to mind about the community?
So for me, again, for me personally, I am a huge believer that attitude, mindset is going to trump almost anything else that you're ever going to lay your hands on. So for the new people coming in, and I try to even share it in my post. Don't let yourself get mentally and emotionally beat down. Again, don't overthink it. But if there's we live in a world where we like to believe we can control so many things. We don't.
That's right.
You control your attitude. You control your actions. In my opinion, that's it.
That was an old, I think, was it a old Chuck Swindoll? I think it's the one that said it. But life is 10% what happens to you, and 90% your response to it.
Right. 90% how you react to it. Right.
Your reaction. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. So so do the things that help you keep your mind right. Whether it's if you got to sit down and read a book, or if you throw on a movie, whatever it is that helps you clear your head and get back into the proper mind space, because you're going to grow faster when you're mentally and emotionally comfortable.
Yeah.
And again, in my opinion, and I keep saying in my opinion, because I'm brand new. I'm still going.
That's really good advice. I mean, life teaches you some lessons over time. I know in the Hebrew culture, age is valued and honored regardless of how accomplished the older person is. They're wiser than a young person because they've just seen more of life. They've felt the impact of the rules of the universe longer, and they know they can sniff out a bad idea faster than a young person can. And one of those things is you've got to take time to take care of yourself, refresh yourself, like, put the oxygen mask on yourself before your child on an airplane. Some people go like, well, no, I'm saving my child. It's like, well, you may kill yourself and your child if you try to save your child first. You got to get your own oxygen on so you have the capacity to serve those around you. That's as Christians and Jews, that Judeo-Christian ethic of taking off a day a week, that's a big deal. Physiologically, we need that.
Right.
Hustle and sustained hustle mode 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you'll burn out. You won't accomplish nearly as much. So a lot of those rules are there for a reason. And I know these are topics that are near to your heart. You sent me an email about a book you wrote, and I didn't have a chance to look at it. Confession time, because you sent it to me just yesterday, and I was hoping to take a peek at it.
Yeah.
But I want to hear about your book and how people can get a hold of it. Tell us, why you wrote that. As we wrap this episode up, let's get a little plug for your book in here.
Okay. So there's a quick, interesting point to the book. I had wanted to write a book forever. It is. I've been that guy. I started out. I wanted to be successful, but I wanted that kind of success that people would just look at me and be like, "Oh, it's an expensive car, nice clothes. That guy's definitely successful." And that was the success that I chased for a lot of years. And I look back on it now, I'm like, man, I wasted so much time living like that. But it led me down a path where I have ran into so many people. They're stuck in that mindset of whatever life has handed me, that's the life I'm going to have. I don't know how to get past that. I don't know how to improve on it. So I became very passionate about wanting to be successful, but wanting to reach back and bring with me as many people as I possibly could, help as many people along the way as I possibly could. And hopefully they would have more success than I would ever see. And that it led to, I started just keeping track of little thoughts I would have. I'd write down this thought and I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat. And then had been praying about wanting to write a book for a very long time. One Sunday, it was Sunday morning, just after midnight, almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Like the things just started flooding through my head. I literally had sat in my computer and in 8 hours wrote this book out. But it was from thoughts that I had and notes that I had taken, and then it felt it just kind of happened. But the book is all about it's my story. It's things that I've gone through, things that I've learned to help myself grow. It's what's developed my attitude of I'm going to do whatever it takes, and I do not quit. I joke all the time that I can't even spell the word, and I spell it KWIT. Anytime I write it, that's how I spell it.
That's great. So you can say I can't even spell quit.
But it's led to being a huge proponent of just attitude and mindset and your work ethic. Those are the things that are going to carry you to whatever level of success you want. And I'm a fan of saying you'll have whatever success you're willing to work for. Beyond that, it's really up to you. But the book, it's a very, I designed it to be, it's a very quick read. It's 10 separate lessons, and it's all things that have happened in my life. I'll share one story with you. I think you and I might have something in common on this one. But there was a job that I wanted. I really wanted the job. It wasn't a fantastic job. I just really wanted it. It was at a car dealership, and it was running the service department for them. And I went in, talked to the owner, talked to the GM, told me no, they weren't going to hire me. Came back the next day, talked to them, and they weren't going to hire me. I did this 30 days in a row. Nice. Every day they were open for 30 days, I showed up. I want this job. Here's why you should give me this job. On the 30th day, the owner happened to be speaking to one of his friends, and she made the comment to him. She said, "Where would you be had no one ever gave you a chance?" And he looked at me right then and said, "You know what? Start Monday." So it's just the don't give up, the tenacious type of spirit. And the book is just filled with that. The title is Mediocrity is a Choice. And I've titled that because I fully believe if you feel like you're living a life that's less than the life you want or less than the life that's been promised to you, there are a lot of things you can do, a lot of choices that you can personally make that will turn that around almost immediately. I wrote the book with the hopes that it would, maybe break down some walls, break down some barriers.
It's a great title too. Mediocrity is a Choice. I'm reminded of my friend, author Daniel Lappin, who says we're the only part of God's creation that can wake up one day and say, I don't like where I'm at. I don't like the situation I'm in. I'm going to change it. Nothing else in God's creation is capable of doing that. Just
right.
What a gift that is. And are you going to take advantage of it or not? Right? You could be in a completely different place. Not by the end of the day necessarily, but you could take 3 steps in the right direction by the end of the day, which will take you thousands of miles over the course of months and years to an incredible place. That's great. Mediocrity is a Choice. It's on Amazon, I'm assuming, right?
It is available on Amazon. It's you can get it in paperback. You can get it a Kindle version. I have a copy of it on my desk. If you'd like to see the cover of it, I can show that to us.
See a picture of it. Hopefully, help you make a few sales and get some people motivated. I love it.
That's
Success, failure, and mediocrity. Is that what it says on the bottom? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, did you publish that through Kindle KDP?
I did. Yes, which is another model, and that's another one we're gonna start exploring that a little more. My daughter is an artist, fantastic. So we're gonna start finding ways to get her artwork out there, and we'll do that through KDP.
Yeah, that's great. We've got some incredible content on that subject as well, both inside the Proven Amazon course and in our community, the 10 books in 10 days. I'll stick a link to that in the show notes today for the listeners too, so you can check out that course. But you can do low content and no content books very inexpensively. Actually, I'll give a plug right now for one I've got. Jenny Hunt put this one together for us. This is the Proven Conference official manual. And for our conference that's coming up here as we record this in just a few days, but it's just a low content book because I'm flipping through it. Just, it's lines. She put a few quotes in there in different places, but it's a low content book. You can put together 10 of these in 10 days with the course that teaches you how to do that. Or like Roger did, sit down over a weekend. And actually the first book I wrote over a weekend as well.
Right.
Never thought I'd be an author, but here I am, 1,000,000+ books sold later. And when people ask what I do, that's the easiest answer to give that makes sense to people. I'm an author, and it's great to be able to say that.
Right.
Man, Roger, it's really cool hanging out with you, buddy, and getting to know you a little bit better. And we're neighbors, man, so I'm sure we'll be running into each other, probably out grabbing Replens, right?
I'm sure I'll see you. Yeah.
But any final thoughts or parting words of wisdom as we wrap this one up?
The final word of wisdom. I guess one of the things that I see a lot of people seems like they're posting, at least lately. I can't find anything. I can't find anything. Help me. What should I sell on Amazon, or what can I sell on Amazon? The best advice I could give for that: just pick a store, walk into the store, turn left, go to that aisle, start going through the products. That's it. Keep it super simple. The products are going to be there. You're going to find them. You just start putting that level of work in. Don't try to find what in your mind is going to be that gold mine product, because that's probably not the way it's going to work out. What's going to be your best product is something you never expected, but you were out looking and you found it. I know that's been our experience. Definitely things that I would have thought, oh man, everybody's going to buy this, I should put that on Amazon. Nobody buys. I like it, but I'm one person.
That's right. It reminds me of the advice that we give when people are sourcing books. We're like, if you've heard of the author, or if the title makes sense to you, or if you know a handful of people that might find that book interesting, that's a bad product. You want to get the books where you've never heard of the author and the subject makes you say, who on earth would ever read this? Those are the books that you want to source. And two, when you go into that store and turn left, like Roger said, you're not scanning barcodes, because that's way too specific. That gets you looking at one product, one UPC code. You don't want to do that. You want to type in the brand name of a brand that maybe you've never heard of. It's like, well, I've never heard of that brand before. Type it into Amazon.com. Search the results from highest priced items to lowest price. See if there's like a 15-pack bundle for the 32-ounce version of that product. And you can order it online by the case. You can make $50 a case, and it's selling fast. That's how you find the great opportunities, right? It's not scanning barcodes. It's finding brands and then digging into it a little bit.
Right. I have never scanned a barcode. I've never used the picture scanner. I've never done that. I see a product. I go to Amazon.com. I type it in. I see what comes up, and then I'll take the ASIN and put that into seller. The seller app. As long as I'm not restricted or it's not gated or anything like that, we move forward.
That's awesome. Never scan barcodes, man. Those of us who come
out one time.
Back in the eBay sourcing, the early Amazon day, the advice everyone was given back then, let's say 7 years ago, was scan everything, scan every barcode you can find. And a lot of people build incredible businesses that way. But it's a lot slower than what we're talking about doing. And there's a lot more competition too, because you're talking about single units typically of items. You want to get into bundles, multi-packs, let other users set up the listings, and you just kind of come in and jump on there and sell at the price they're selling at and share that buy box. It's a beautiful model.
Definitely.
Good advice, man. Real good advice. Some real good themes in here today. So I appreciate your time, Roger. Well, man, I want to get back together with you again once you hit those big numbers, man. I think you'll be at 50,000 a month in no time. And let's get you back on here and you can talk about the journey from where you are to that. How's that sound?
Absolutely. Look forward to it. It'll be fantastic.
Can't wait, man. God bless you and your family. And thank them for me for loaning you to us.
Absolutely.
You know, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll address the listeners too. Thanks for hanging out with Roger and I today. Just a casual conversation. But if you're paying attention, there's $1 million business model in what we just talked about today. And we've got the proof. A whole lot of people in our community. We just blew by 600 testimonials in our free Facebook group. And Roger's been a couple of those posts in there, just jumping in, updating us on his progress. We can't be accused of only sharing the big, crazy, 6-figure, 7-figure success story. Hey, we talk about people who are in the trenches doing the real work every day around here as well. And Roger's one of those guys, man. You just always he's always popping in, being encouraging. That's the kind of community we have. So if you're not part of it, we want you to be a part of it. Come see for yourself Roger's posts. You can see him right there, along with 60,000 plus other people in our community. But God bless the business building warriors. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you today. We'll have another great episode for you real soon. Until then, be safe, keep selling, keep plugging away, business building warrior. We'll talk to you then.